Uh, Thanks everyone for joining us for, oh, okay, I thought I hit stop streaming. Thanks everyone for joining us for another Node.js Community Committee meeting. This is for April 29th, Thursday. Cool. Let's kick things off with agenda updates. Any updates?
Yeah. Oh, anybody else? No. So I have in internationalization, I've begun the work of auditing Crowdin and auditing, which is our internationalization platform that we use to translate all of our text for our website and our API docs, etc., into various languages. So it's been a while since an internationalization working group member has been able to look across, and say, okay, what languages have activity? How many proofreaders do we have? Because that's an important role within those, within each language, because you have translators and you have proofreaders. You have to assign proofreaders to be able to accept a translation. And it turns out, things are looking a little sparse. So we're going to have to do a push for this. So this is the first step in being able to say, okay, how many people do we have working on each language? Which I've done this, I can show you actually real quick. I'll share my screen here. So if I go to here, right, for the API docs, there's the managers of that project, and I can share this document with anybody if you want to see it, but we've got these various languages: Arabic, Bulgarian, Chinese simplified, Chinese traditional, Croatian, etc., etc. Within those, there are languages that have proofreaders already who I'm going to reach out to, like, let's say in Chinese simplified, we have a few here. I'll reach out and say, hey, how are you doing? How can I help you? Is there anything that we can do to help make the proofreading experience better, etc. But as you can also see, there are a lot of languages that don't have a proofreader, which is a big problem. so if we don't have proofreaders, those translations aren't happening, they're not making it through, right? So I have written a draft letter that I'm going to send to people who are active in the translation process in each of these languages. For instance, everyone that has a number, and make that request to get new proofreaders in here, so we can keep translations going and keep that activity flowing. So there's that for the API docs and for the website. But if anybody's interested in this document or following along with how that process is going, please let me know. Otherwise, that's something I'm doing this week. And then I will be joining the website redesign committee next week, I believe, for the first time in a while. So I'm going to take a look into how progress is going with that, and also try to merge the two efforts here. Also, we're still working on getting ICU, the ICU NPM module over into Node.js, and that is on my radar, and I hope to complete that by the end of the week. So,
awesome. Anyone else have updates?
I'll comment on the website redesign stuff. I know there was a little bit of conversation via email. The last website redesign meeting was just me and Ben Halverson. And I'm always a bit overwhelmed by that project because it just always feels like it's a little chaotic and like there's a lot that needs to be done. However, Ben and I looked at the current website and like kind of the latest redesign, one of the staging PRs. And it's not as bad as I feared. There's lots of work still to be done, but some of it is pretty straightforward. And so that kind of made me feel a little bit better. And I put together, Ben and I put together a quick project board, just like not even with issues, but like, whatever you call them when they're not issues in a project board. It was less daunting to me when I looked at it, and I'll share that project board in the chat here. So that was encouraging, and I know Ben is kind of trying to work on things. Now this is in looking at this project board, and Ben and I looking at the two sites, I kind of set the API work aside, the docs stuff aside, because I think, you know, Ben is hoping to make updates to the files that the docs are generated from in order to get certain, you know, metadata into the front matter, and URLs, and things like that. So I feel like that's a bit of, you know, a bigger chunk of work that that needs other considerations rather than what the website, I think. I mean, you know, obviously there's shared considerations, but it feels like that was something that we could consider a separate chunk of work, not like phase 2 per se, but like absolute MVP. Let's get these pages in and all of the things that, you know, would make us feel confident that we're close to getting it done, and then get the API doc work done. So anyway, I try to help that team along whenever I can. It's a little challenging, but I feel like we're close, you know, with an asterisk there, and I was encouraged by that conversation with Ben. So that's a little bit of website redesign. And Ben, Mitchell, if you want to catch up or something and look at it together, I'd be happy to do that with you.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds really good. I'm really excited to see that, you know, that Kanban board you all have going, and it'll be nice to go through that. I'd like to, you know, I do need to get reassociated with how, you know, we're generating the docs and getting that in there, and also, you know, how things are getting merged and deployed and all that stuff. So excited to kind of wrap my head around that again, and then understand where things are at, and then how to go forward. So thanks for sharing that.
Looking at this board, Joe,
Mhm.
I believe one of the points that was made in those discussions was that there was features in the production site that aren't in the node.js.dev site on the download page, and that's specifically marked as done there. I would, it's potentially worth just going back and looking at, going back and looking at that feedback and making sure that gets implemented if we're considering this done.
Yeah, yeah, and the title of that, it says done but needs some updating and out of date. I think, yeah, it's challenging sometimes, because I think like the design, like you could implement it to the design and then be like, okay, cool, but then you look at it, you're like, but wait, this maybe the design wasn't fully thought through in terms of implementing the features, or maybe even new features have come since the redesign happened. It's not, yeah. So I agree. Maybe that should even just be pulled out of the done column, or maybe have an almost done column or whatever. But yeah, I agree. It's not, this was kind of just thrown together quickly to sort of sketch out what we think. And I agree with you, Tierney.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Any other initiative updates? Yep.
We can talk about this maybe, you know, after we go through the agenda, but in terms of like mentorship, you know, we're trying to move forward on a CommComm mentee. I created an issue with just a couple of things that I think would be good. And, you know, it might even be the sort of thing that we just need to sit down and figure out what some of the work would be. And that would make clear what we're looking for from a mentee. I'm gonna try to make, I can't make this Friday's meeting for the mentorship thing. They meet every Friday, but I promised them I would meet with them next Friday. And then, you know, hopefully we can get a mentee sorted for CommComm. But if anybody has any, you know, required skills that they think should be in there, or preferred skills or something, please feel free to add it, or we can chat about it more after we get through the agenda.
Cool.
For me personally, I haven't been able to follow up with or just see how things are going in the mentorship working group. Can you give like a brief synopsis of like, you know, what you're doing, and like how many people you're working with and where things are at and all that?
Nope.
I don't think or Joe is directly involved. I can probably speak to what they've told us. I also don't know if Puri, I don't know if I got your name wrong. I apologize if I didn't. Is from that, because we often have people show up from mentorship, and I really appreciate that. Mentorship is probably our most successful initiative. It is being run pretty effectively. They've definitely picked things up from where they started, and then kind of moved on from there, and made it a lot more solid. They have a whole process that they go through. They have mentees help, like they have their own mentees, and so that ends up helping drive things through. They do a very good job at it, and yeah, they've done a few different mentorship initiatives. I don't know what you want to call it, mentees. They set them up with I don't know if the one for an API has gone through or started yet, Michael, but
Yep.
how's
Yeah,
that
no,
going?
that one's active. The mentees involved. It's going well. So
Nice. Yeah, and then I did one with the examples initiative. We got a lot done there, and that kind of stalled out a bit for sure because of I what I believe are problems in the GitHub Actions platform with a specific uh flag in the YAML that we need to use. So I am basically waiting on for more progress there until npm workspaces are actually in a more usable spot, so then it'll be a little bit easier. Yeah, so they've done those two and then several others, I think. So pretty good. They're a pretty good process. If any initiatives or working groups or anything like that in the project are interested, they can kind of set things up and reach out to David, and he'll kind of get things rolling, or he'll point you in the right direction at least.
Yeah,
So.
that's really cool. I think it might be, it doesn't have to be like a big, expansive mentorship thing. It might be cool to run like a mentorship for a mentorship event or something for the, ICU and INTL and internationalization APIs in, in Node.
They're pretty good at defining what, like giving you how to define the scope of work and defining complete and stuff like that. So that's a good thing to work with them on.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. I mean, I don't imagine it being like a huge cohort, but I can imagine it being really useful. So
Right.
cool.
Yeah, and I think one of the things they focus on is making sure it's useful to the other person as well, like not just useful to Node and then kind of leaving the person out. It more is getting people in and giving them a place to participate. So I would recommend talking to David or looking at their documentation and seeing if what they do is a good fit for that.
Thanks, Terry.
I'm kind of surprised too that I don't know, has website redesign had any mentors or mentees? Because that seems like the perfect place. Granted,
No,
you need good leadership and people, mentor, but yeah.
It hasn't, and I think I think making sure we have a solid foundation there first before starting that would be a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, but maybe it's an impetus, especially, Ben, if you have time to be involved at all.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what I'm seeing here, and the pattern that I'm seeing within the website redesign is it needs some kind of project management, right? So
Yeah.
if we can get project management in there, like if I, and that's something that I'd love to help with over time. So like if I can get, and I can start to push and help people get into the channels that they want to help with, next step would be that. So those are my two foci, I guess is the right way to use that word, would be internationalization and website right now within the community committee. So if I can help with that, I'd love to see this get to a place to where, because I mean, you're building a website, right? There's so many different things that people can do. If we could just create those channels and make it easy for them. So yeah.
Yeah. And I've tried to counsel Ben and Divya, who are great. They're doing good work. They're doing what they can, but neither of them are really project managers. And then people just come in and they just do things, which is good. They're doing things that are helpful, but they're not like driving the MVP kind of thing. And so, but anyway, Ben, I'd love to, let's offline find a time to meet up and figure out how we can help them be successful.
Yeah, that'd be rad. Yeah, just to summarize what you said, just having oversight, like contributions are great, but having oversight and the direction, it's like it's ready to go. Love to meet with you on that. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
Cool. Another thing I wanted to say from CommComm, we did not have anyone else step up for the CPC representative, so Joe did step up again. So Joe ran out unopposed, and that has been finalized. I've also told that to the CPC, so we can change it if we need to, but I think we followed the correct processes there. It seems like everyone kind of forgot about this, so I don't feel too bad. Like every other project also forgot.
Yeah.
So I don't feel too bad that we were actually ended up being first to report back, I think. So
that's great.
Yep. Cool. Do we have any other updates?
I have a bit of personal update, like if you will.
Cool.
I'm now working as head of developer relations at RapidAPI, and we've just I've just helped them now sponsor both the Linux Foundation and the OpenAPI initiative. So we are kind of finalizing these partnerships. So super excited about that.
That's great.
Nice.
Great.
Cool.
And good to see you again as well.
Yeah, it's lovely to see you again.
You as well, Ben.
Oh, well, thank you. I was just going to say this in the chat, or I was saying this in the chat to Ahmad. I mean, like this space just looks beautiful. It looks so amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
I'll give you the secret.
Good.
Yeah. So I guess on the CPC side, what's been going on? I actually wasn't able to attend the last meeting, but I think there are some elections happening in terms of like regular members electing their voting members on the CPC. The request for impact and non-impact projects to we need voting members representing them. So there are a couple issues open along those lines. Feel free to chime in, Michael, if I'm forgetting.
Yeah, no, that's that's good.
OpenJS World is moving along. I just got out of the program committee meeting on that. The schedule I think is posted. We're working on some. I guess maybe a good thing to mention. We're thinking about because it's going to be keynotes are quasi live. They'll be like presented in a live sort of way, and then everything else will be on demand, like YouTube playlist sort of stuff, and you can watch what you want at your own pace. But the thought is that we might do like geo-specific watch parties. So if anybody's, any other geo or anybody watching this later or now wants to get involved, let me know. So like something in APAC and something in Europe and the States and whatnot. What else is going on that side? Anything like on the board side, Michael?
There was nothing of note on the board side other than the community travel fund. There was a discussion about the budget for that, and so that has been was discussed in the audit and finance committee, and so we should be getting back to the CPC on that fairly soon.
Cool. Can I ask you a couple questions? It's been a minute since I've been to one of those meetings. I was just curious. Brief. I hope it's in the scope of this meeting, but how are things going? Can you give just a basic status of where the CPC is at? I know there's been a lot of governance, documents writing and all that kind of stuff over the course of the year. And then also, like, is the standards group still pretty active?
Yep.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, everything's going great.
Great.
That
was good.
If there's anything specific, I'm happy to share. But we've moved to a model of meeting every other week, sort of like with official agenda meetings, and then the off weeks we are doing working sessions. We're working on like diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're working on like tech strategy. We're working on moderation practices, these sorts of things. Obviously, there's always sort of improvement that we're doing in terms of documentation and project progression. We recently removed the growth stage from our, categorization of projects. So we just have at large and impact and incubating. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's some of the stuff that we've been doing. I'm trying to think if there's anything else of larger note to mention, but generally it's going well. Lots of activity, people involved. The working sessions are good too. We get to focus on specific things for a good hour and then break off and try to make progress.
Great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for summarizing where things are at. Appreciate it.
Yep. Yeah, I'm happy to talk more about it later if you want.
Yeah, let's just hang out, Joe.
Sounds good.
Another thing I want to mention are two things. One, I merged the PR for Waleed. Waleed opened a PR to move himself to emeritus. I generally think those are uncontroversial things that we can't really block. Like that's not a blocking thing of you can't tell someone you have to be a committee member. So I try to be quick on those because I also know it can be stressful if it's up for a long time. But yeah, accepted that PR. That was yeah. I think I've talked about this with Joe and Michael, but I reached out to everyone who has been an active. Thank you to thanks folks for showing up. But yeah, reach out to everyone who's been inactive. Both Waleed and Aguirre kind of agreed that they're happy to move to emeritus. Just because they don't have time in the future to contribute, and or at least in the immediate future. So I just wanted to make sure we thanked Waleed for his contributions, and also note that Aguirre, there's a PR up to move to Aguirre to emeritus. I told him I'd do that, like I'd do a PR for him. He's not been very active on GitHub, which is super unfortunate. Love to see him active. But yeah, he's just been busy with work. So that has taken precedent, which is totally fine. But yeah, I wanted to get that up and have that up. That one, since I opened it, since he didn't open it, I'll suggest we leave open for a week to let him comment if he wants. But if he doesn't comment at the end of a week, I'd say we can go ahead and merge that. And that's 2.5 times longer than we normally leave PRs up if they're smaller changes. I also noticed that list isn't alphabetical and it really is bothering me, so I'm going to do that eventually. It's just very random.
I think it's alphabetical, maybe based on GitHub name.
No, it's AMJOGAMRJ. It's not alphabetical. The emeritus one is
emeritus.
The normal members list is alphabetical, but not emeritus. So yeah, I'll probably submit a tiny PR to fix that too eventually. But yeah, I wanted to get that up. That will bring us down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total members. That is actually something we should probably talk about. Governance. There is a file somewhere. It's probably charter. Members. There is a ideal membership size.
Yep.
Size. Let's see here. Yeah, I think there's an advice size, although maybe I'm misremembering that, or that's a TSC thing that we don't have.
No, I thought I remember seeing something about that too.
Also, yeah, we need to between 9 and 12. So we're pretty far below that, and that might be a good discussion point of what is the future of the CommComm look like. Yeah, and kind of what is the future of the CommComm and what is the future of the initiatives and stuff like that. Since I don't think we've gotten a ton of interest or activity in the past year, 2 years, 3 years, like maybe in the last 3 years, but not really in the last 2, which is fine. Like it's not a failure or anything, but yeah, that's a thing that I think we should begin considering is what is the future of the CommComm? What does it look like? Do we merge with the TSC or move stuff into that? Do we dissolve the CommComm and have initiatives go into TSC? What does the future look like? Do we continue? Do we try to revamp things? Like, what does that look like? That's probably a good discussion to start having. Since we are, I think both in practice and in text, not super active. So. And I don't think that's a discussion we need to have now. I think that's a discussion we could probably start, but we don't have to have that now. I'm just putting that out there since we are hitting those numbers at which I start thinking about that. So
if you look back on the history of CommComm and you go back to like 2017, one of the biggest pushes for getting involvement in the CommComm was at it's called OpenJS World now, node.js, what do we call it back then? Interactive.
Interactive, yeah.
Yeah, so like
The code and learns.
so there was this, this group swelling of excitement that funneled into these breakout meetings. And then a lot of people were excited to join, all there together, all that sort of thing. So I feel like, at OpenJS World, like it might be an opportunity to say something like, hey, we're doing really amazing, or we have the potential to do really amazing work. We've been doing really amazing work for a while, or whatever, and get people, get a group of people together to think about their interest in doing these types of things. I think one thing that's really important is that, we have a list of things on our README here, like things that have champions or in need of a champion. And like some of those things might be, still of interest, some might not, whatever. But to meet the quorum of having like, an ideal group of people that, meets like 10 or 12 or whatever. I don't think it's that far of a stretch to say like, look, I mean, even if we personally, reach out to individuals that we know are interested in particular topics or particular things to get involved, I think part of it is just like, it's easy to expect people to show up or to expect things to move forward. But obviously, like, this is coming from me, who was like, kind of, like active and then not active and then active and then not active. And now I'm back, like that kind of thing. So I get it, like sometimes things can get hard. I mean, in the last year, 2 years of inactivity as well. I mean, there's something to be said for like a pandemic, like everybody's sort of hunkering down, like trying to figure out how to live life and do things, so like that can be taken into account for the amount of activity. But I feel like, hey, what, in my personal opinion, why not give it another go, for these projects that we believe in. And I know that obviously different initiatives, if the CommComm ends up dissolving or whatever, like different initiatives would just be moved into the TSC, and then we'd be doing them there. I mean, it's not like the work is going to stop for the things that we really care about, but I mean, I don't know, I think it would be a really good opportunity to to give more lift and to personally invite, to reach out to people that we know care about certain things that we're doing.
I think, go ahead, Joe.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I don't disagree with anything you're saying, Ben. I think for me, it's the cart before the horse. Like, I feel like we need to figure out what CommComm is doing before we would invite people, and where we would want to encourage them. And I think, we've talked about this in the past. CommComm sort of is like an umbrella for these initiatives. But what do we do kind of beyond that? And so it's hard to invite people to CommComm per se. But I think, I think revitalizing the work that we do is great. And I think, if we can get website redesign, on a good track, And I'm glad, to see the work that you're doing on internationalization. I feel like there are other things that we could be doing, especially with website redesign and the thought of like maybe having a blog be a part of that and get away from the Medium stuff. If we had like some sort of content team that focused on some of that. That's just like one idea. A docs team, which I don't think necessarily should fall under CommComm, but anyway, there are all sorts of things that we could be trying to encourage and boost and such. So that's kind of what I think needs to sort of be going on first.
Yeah, another piggyback idea on what you just said is, some of us do streaming, right? So like, and I'm getting more into that now, and I'm starting to get my feet wet in streaming. So, I mean, there's no there's no reason why, if you're excited about working on something, you can't stream while you do it, right? So that could be another thing. I mean, I heard this analogy the other day that made a lot of sense as far as creating awareness for these projects and for anything really on the web. And it's like throwing bricks into the Grand Canyon. It's like the more bricks that you throw in, the more it's visible, right? So like if we're making noise here, making noise there, streaming here, doing that, I feel like it's in the more broader spectrum of visibility. But I agree with you that that'd be cool. Finding a place to talk about it, finding a place to stream about it, finding a place to do these things where people say, oh yeah, there's something going on there.
I think one of the things that I've seen over the past, 5 years or something of doing CommComm has been the difference between TSC and CommComm is people in the TSC can be funded by their job to do this. Joe and I and Michael are all done in that spot. I think Ben, you are too. Although I am like directly able to spend 100% of my time on this. And I think Joe and Michael are pretty close to that. And Ahmad, I assume you're doing this, in that same capacity, probably told by yourself, but yeah. So like,
Mostly for myself.
yeah, exactly. So there, unlike other areas like CNCF stuff, this isn't JavaScript and Node isn't a place where companies are able to invest as much. And so we see a fewer number of people doing that. And I think one of the things that I have been thinking about a lot more is how do we make the best use of that? And like I know that like at least for myself, I spend a lot of time doing like committee or organization and running stuff where I could be going and contributing in other ways, right? And it's not bad. But I do often wonder if we are doing the using our individual time in the best way possible, that helps the goal that we're trying to achieve here the most. I think that's one thing that I've been hyper focused on. It has been efficiency, whether it's like automation stuff or our time and cutting things. Like I've most of my commits to different things in like either CommComm or admin or other things have literally been removing stuff, like cutting stuff from the project has been a non-trivial amount of my contributions, just because of like either needing to reflect reality or do recognize that we're not going to be working on this, and that's fine. Like it's okay to move, like just like it's okay to move to emeritus, it's fine to move something to like we're done with this for now. If we want to revive it later, we can. And so I think that is where I've been coming from for the past while, especially after quite frankly there was 3 people participating in CommComm for over a year, and at that point it's like if we're at that point, we need to be considering what the sustainable path is where the interaction patterns match what we're able to do, or like what we're saying we're going to do. And so when that is the interaction pattern and people are jumping in and out over time, they have periods to hyper focus and then periods to the dip, that's totally fine. But it will probably be a better use of their time for the project and their time for themselves if we have them kind of focus on that domain when they can and then dip and not have to do this additional committee work or not try to refactor this committee. I mean, we've gone through multiple iterations, right? Like we've done a lot of things different. We're doing things very differently now than when we started, and then there's been several iterations in between. And so, through those, we've not really found a path that is like, this is the sustainable path for CommComm. I don't think, and I could be wrong, could absolutely be wrong. But I don't think we've quite hit that. And I think that's definitely something to consider. And another thing I try to be protective of as like, someone who's in some kind of leadership position is, are we burning people out? Are we burning the people out who are under this? And I think that is another important thing of like, there have been multiple CommComm members who just burnt out partially because of CommComm, I think. And the the unfocus of CommComm, where it's a detractor, a distraction from the work that they actually want to do, or that would be helpful to them. And I think that's partially probably because of how we set it up, or how I've set it up, how the things I pushed for that are probably related to that. But yeah, I think that there are a lot of things in that, and I think recognizing, considering, where we are, and then trying to recognize when certain decisions need to be made, and regardless of what those decisions are, and making them is probably a good path to be going down. And like, yeah, I guess I've also heard a lot of similar sentiment from others. And like, I mean, full disclosure, I've had TSC members reach out to me a few times over the years and say like, hey, like, what's up with this initiative? Like, are we making progress here? Are we, how is this doing? Or I've been so disconnected from this, which is another downside, is that the TSC is relatively disconnected from the work, which I think previously that would probably have been, that didn't matter. I think now that matters more. I think there's more people in the TSC who care about community and ecosystem, and are willing to engage. And I think we're also, there's also something to be said for that engagement that we're basically missing. We're not getting that engagement from the people who participate in the TSC and the initiatives there, right? And so, yeah, that's another element. But yeah, there's a lot of things here. This is a complex thing. And I'm not saying like, let's merge into the TSC today. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But I think there are different things here to explore that I think we should explore, to make sure we're doing community work best for the project. So
I kind of also think that, like superimposing what Ben said, I think pandemic had an impact on community overall. Like I know a lot of members or volunteers who are looking into the outreach initiative, and all of that just went away because there are no meetups, and this online thing is crazy. So, just saying that we should factor that in.
yeah, no, I definitely agree that has probably accelerated things. I will also say that, I mean, like, these discussions have happened since I was handing over chair to, why am I blanking on Adam?
Adam. Yeah.
I don't know why I blanked on his. I can very much envision his face.
and hear him
But-
beatboxing.
Yep. Oh,
Sorry.
that brought me right back to Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely agree, but like, this is something I told Adam about when I was handing it over to him, was, this is something to look out for, of like disengagement and like people's ability to participate. Also, I've taken up way too much time with this. I'm not time boxing
No.
myself. I
It's really
apologize.
good. It's really, really good. Number one, I want to say thank you, Tierney. Like, I just think Tierney deserves thanks in this respect because he has, this is the experienced viewpoint, right? Tierney's sort of been on the ground in CommComm for years. So like, you know, he has the experienced viewpoint here. He's feeling all the feelings, not just, you know,
Yeah.
not just like, you know, me, I'm like, oh, you know, I just, you know, I was gone for a while. Now I'm back. Hey, everybody, you know, like, oh, I'm excited, you know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Tierney has that sort of like, okay, I've been here, I've seen things come, I've seen things go. So that has a lot of weight to it. So thank you, Tierney. Thank you for keeping CommComm going and all the hard work you've done for years and years. You're amazing. So there's that. The other thing I was thinking is a gap that I've seen in a project like this and in other projects is there's this gap in visibility where you have issues and you have initiatives and you have different things going on. But once you talk about it, like you said, once you talk about it, you have no idea what the hell's going on, right? You don't know like if and when and how and the progress on what is moving along with things. So I think something that's really helpful and does keep accountability is a really good idea. Not accountability like you should be, you know, like a shaming thing, like you should be doing this. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is like accountability to just seeing where things are at. You know, this is why we have like project boards and things like that that help us kind of see how things get pushed along or where they're at or if they're stagnated, and helps other members in the community say, you know, in the group, like for instance, the community committee say, hey, how's that going? I see it's, you know, been in this column for a long time. Like, can I help you with that or whatever? So I think something that could be helpful and actually, you know, create a sense of togetherness, because that's the thing. Like, we're all doing our individual thing, but we're coalescing here as a group. And it would be awesome to have that kind of togetherness, like in a project board, you know, where like, even if you care about it or whatever, you can just, or you don't, it's fine. You can just see what's going on in the project board, you know, per initiative, per thing. I mean, I would love to just have what I'm doing up in cards, you know, like on a project board. I'd love to like see how things are progressing. And I think that just gives us like a general accountability, you know, to each other and to that sort of thing. If we really want to push something along.
Yeah.
You know.
I think the one challenge with that I've seen is it's asking people who barely have time to do another thing. And I think that's where it gets hard of like, then it gets unmaintained quick. And so that, yeah, that's the challenge. Like, I think we have had those Kanban boards in, you know, as an example, in website redesign when there was more activity there before. And then it kind of, I'm assuming it dropped off. I don't actually know what happened. Or I could be misremembering. But I'm pretty sure, like, you know, that's a thing. Yeah, there's 7 project boards in there. So like, you know, we were using it. But yeah, even in that situation, like, yeah, it's a hard one. I
Totally.
think
Well,
is
here's the thing, right? There's two sides. Yeah, it can be unmaintainable if somebody's not pruning it or somebody's not you know, shepherding it or whatever. But like, is the trade-off, you know, is the trade-off is like, hey, if you want to invest your time or you have the time to do it, great. It's not like a set in stone in a governance thing, like you have to do this or whatever. So that's totally fine. I just feel like you know, the easiest way to see like how things are going is using a tool like that, and it keeps everybody like up to date immediately. And so that, you know, like even if it's like relatively maintained, it's a nice tool for everyone to reference and to you know, keep your work in the open so that people can, you know, either help you or whatever, or just keep you accountable or check in or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think there is a trade-off. There's like activity versus inactivity. Right now, we've been talking a lot about inactivity. So, and I get it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just putting it out there.
No, that makes sense.
And I guess what I wanted to summarize with that was that any effort that can be done to fill in those gaps will help the projects, you know, evolve and grow. And I think it can be done on a meta level in CommComm. If we wanted a project board, and it obviously it can be done. Like I'm thinking about this now. I'm like, yeah, oh, heck yeah, I need to update the internationalization Kanban and things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. We should probably get to our one agenda item. It'd probably be a good one to do. Just moderation team certification. So this is a annual thing we need to do. I kind of cut that off real quick. Anyone else have anything they want to add to that? Cool. We can pick this discussion up. We should probably have an issue or something or a discussion. I don't know if issue is the right thing, but you know, some kind of discussion about this going forward.
Oh yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I don't think Rich moved it like he okay. Michael, would you be willing to transfer that, or should I transfer that issue? I just feel weird transferring something out of the TSC. But Rich,
Let me take a look. So that one, I know what the plan. So this is the recertification, right?
yep. Yeah, Rich said transferring it out works for him. So
Yeah, so it was going to move forward, start moving. He was going to start moving that forward, he said, after the TSC chair election was complete.
oh, got you. When is that?
That's the end of this month, but I can say in CommComm was asked about moving to admin repo. So moved since there seemed to be agreement. Okay. Because I think regardless, that makes sense based on the discussion.
One thing I will do I don't remember if we have to recertify each person individually or if it's as a whole with any objections. Admin.
I think we've done it as a group, like,
okay.
You know, it's like as long as there's no objections, like here's the list of people.
Yeah, moderation policy, I'm just looking up the thing real quick.
Yeah.
An annual recertification vote is required for all moderation team members for an individual to be recertified. That's fine. I mean, we haven't had a problem. A simple majority vote in favor is required by both TSC. So I believe we actually, for once, have a majority in CommComm, which is nice. I believe we have 5 members here. I will have to abstain from myself, of course, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, we have a majority. So I feel comfortable actually asking for us to vote on each of these. So I am fine doing a vocal vote. Does anyone have an objection to or vocal or Zoom chat vote? Does anyone have an objection to just recertifying each of these rather quickly here as a vote? Okay. So I will go down this list. If you want to either speak or write, if you're not comfortable speaking, write in the Zoom chat that you have an objection. Otherwise, I will take silence as a positive vote. So voting on Jordan Harband, Eljarb. Cool. Eljarb is passed, and if I pass over someone's objection in chat, feel free to, you know, I can back up to it. Forrest Norville. Myself, I'm abstaining from myself, but you can also, if you can DM Michael, I guess, if you have a problem with me and you need to tell me. Okay. Rich Trot. Okay, no objection. Ryan H. Lewis. Okay. Benjamin, I always want to try to pronounce his name and his last name and realize every time it's a bad idea because I'm going to get it wrong. But Benjamin. Cool. Shelley Vore. Cool. George Adams. Cool. And Yuki. Cool. I will give it another second just to let someone type a thing if they want to. But if nobody does, I'll consider that all votes passed, and we can kind of progress.
Yeah,
I
and if
will
we
comment
can,
on
I
there.
think it's a good time to basically thank everybody for the time
Yep.
that they've spent on that too.
I appreciate you saying that because I'm not going to say something to thank myself and asking
Sure.
others to thank myself. But yeah, yes, I know. Just for context, the moderation team is actually decently active. It's just all private.
Yep.
We talk often. We often raise issues as something to watch. A lot of people do good work, and I really appreciate everyone who's a peer there. And I think a lot of Node is a much nicer place with that team existing and those people in that team. So huge thanks to the moderation team members. Okay, cool. I will comment on that issue. CommComm voted on, and we'll progress there. Or I guess we'll let the TSC progress.
Yep.
I can't comment at this time. Okay. That's a first in the node.org for me. Oh, because it got transferred. There you
Yes, I had to
go.
change it.
No, that's fine. Okay, cool. Should be good then. With that, we've hit that sounds annoying, Joe. With that, we've hit the end of the agenda, at the start and the end of the agenda. We're also just about at time. So if anyone has anything else they'd like to say before we dip, go ahead. But otherwise, you can dip.
I appreciate you all.
Yeah, same.
Thank you.
Big time.
I think we should all sing a chorus of "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey. Just, just kidding. All right.
Excellent. See ya.
See you, buddy.
Bye. See